What's up, my friends? It's Joshua, Carpo. What's going on? Are you having a good day? I really hope so. Because if you're not, you're probably not going to want to hear about the apocalypse. No, funny enough, I just watched an apocalypse movie last night, but that's not what inspired this video. But I think it was called At the End of the World or something like that, something pretty blunt. But yeah, hackers had, taken down the grid and basically run Teslas into each other and crowded the cities and just dropped bombs and ran planes into the ground and ships into the shore, that kind of stuff. It was pretty entertaining, and I was actually pleasantly surprised because I'm an apocalypse kind of guy. But knowing the word apocalypse means unveiling, really, it's not about destruction, but we tend to associate it that way. But I have been feeling lately like there's something big going down in this world. I can't explain it. I know there are a lot of small things that are happening, as there always are. A lot of wars. Very versed in what's going on in the Middle East, of course, because that's where I've always had my eye and my belief, that religion will kill us all in a way, but not religion itself, but just the zealots, who use it as a way to murder people. But everyone who believes that their side is right, I think that this is kind of one of those human nature problems. But it makes you wonder what would happen, if there was a major disaster, right? A major nuclear war, could be a comet impact. I live in the Pacific Northwest. It could be a 10.0 fucking earthquake that takes us down, which is coming. We talk about it all the time out here because we're like, a couple decades overdue for one because they happen every few hundred years here. And they're big ones. And it would take down the Portland bridges and a lot of our brick buildings. And not to mention that the airport as well as North Portland are both in liquefaction zones. So the soil basically vibrates at a certain frequency and turns into just everything sinks into it. We have all kinds of gas depots up there for natural gas where it's brought in from the tankers. There's all the pipelines are up there. It would be a complete disaster, and there would be no way to get any air cargo in probably because the airport runways are all in liquefaction zones right on the Columbia River. So anyway, we're fragile. We're fragile little people living on this ball, right? And we know this. And you look at just what happened over on the East Coast. Holy shit. North Carolina, my God, the flooding. I mean, from what I've seen so far, it's been like 160 people dead. I'm sure it'll probably double, triple, quadruple that. I mean, but I don't know. Sometimes they overstate it, sometimes under. But this one was big, and a lot of people got washed away. Their whole homes, their whole lives. Sometimes you just don't know what Mother Nature's going to throw at you. And when you get a foot of rain in 1 or 2 days, holy shit, you got to look out. You know what I'm saying? And, we're always kind of living on the verge of an apocalypse in our own little worlds, right? Hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes. But all that aside, these are localized events. And when they do happen, people come together. They help each other. They help dig out neighbors. Everybody does what they can to bring the community back together. And it's beautiful. So, what happens when it's a worldwide event, like COVID? Honestly, I think that most of the world was pretty sympathetic during the first part, other than the fact that we were locked down, which pissed people off. And I have a whole series of videos coming up that I want to make about this. I did a lot of documentation during COVID. And I went down to like the protests, the riots in Portland before they were riots, when they were actually protests. And I've got videos from the front lines, like right at the fence, where the cops like instigated, the violence against the protesters and shot tear gas and like corralled us all in while we were just filming. It was chaos. Everybody is at fault, right? Everybody's to blame. It's like, okay, we got to move past this, And COVID really threw a crimp in, seeing the changes that were going on in the world already. So now that COVID's over, I'm starting to see this, what I saw before beginning, growing again, which is this connection people have, this understanding between you and me that we're okay, that we're not harmful, that we don't want to hurt each other. We want to be kind. We want to love each other. We want to make friends and love people. Very, very few people out there want to actually harm people. And it's to focus on that aspect of it, not realizing that all of us just want to hug. I think it's hard. It's painful, to watch. You see what happens that we manifest our own anxiety about other people within, by voting for one team or another, or by having a sports team, right? A sports team. Some people like football, right? You got the Oregon Ducks, you got the Oregon Beavers. You've got rivals that are in the same state, right? It's like people don't. It's necessary to have these rivalries, is what I'm saying. It's not a bad thing. It's not that we shouldn't have them. It's that we can do so much better. I think we can really fix this planet if we just got our minds together in the right way. And I've thought about it so many times that it just seems impossible. How do you get people on board? Well, you'd have to have governments that care, and the biggest governments. And you'd have to get away from the stigma about going green, because it is going green, but it's not about that whole, eliminating fossil fuel bullshit. We need fossil fuels for some things. Okay? Fossil fuels are amazing. We also need, we can use electricity and batteries for certain things. We can do both. And we're gradually merging and doing the best we can to evolve during a time when perhaps the Earth's climate is already changing. We don't know. We know the CO2 levels, we've added a lot to it, but it depends on what you believe spiritually, I guess. That I think of the Earth as an organism. So, organisms regulate themselves. So Gaia, as you might call it, will kick the shit out of us if we don't respect, basically. Sucks. But fortunately, we're eternal souls and part of the ether, so it doesn't matter, right? And if we could just stop fighting about religion, stop fighting about who's right and who's wrong, what God is right, it's such a simple concept, to stop fighting about religion and politics. But we can't. Because we want to know. And it's the son of a bitch. It really is. What can we know? Facepalm. That's funny. Honestly, that's a book I wrote. It was called What Can We Know? What was it called? The Question of Life, What Can We Know? Something like that. It was it was a Kindle book I published on Kindle and under Joshua Orr. And I thought, I'm going to publish my first book. And I got all excited and wrote it, published it, had a couple of like 2 reviews over a couple of years or something, but nobody read it. I think it's still there. And, but yeah, I've been wondering since then, what can we know? I don't know what we can know. We can't know. But I do know that you can't know. The deepest knows. You can't know the deepest things they're unknowable. So if you're okay with that, and you could just take kind of the perimeter or the inside and just leave the rest and say, all right, I'll never know this part, but I can know this part. You can live a pretty good life laughing about the absurdity of it all. And to me, that's what alchemy is about. Not taking shit seriously and being able to process things in a way that is efficient and quick, but at the same time, it's like my son was talking about earlier. It's like you can be fast, you can be good, or you can be cheap. Yeah, I was like, yep, that's right. You can get 2 of 3, right? 2 out of 3. There's a lot to learn in the alchemical tradition, for example, like all the different symbology. But once you've studied a lot of it, it starts to come together. You start seeing symbols and you're like, oh, okay, I get that. That makes sense. And so I guess I'm gonna just go now because I need to make some dinner, and I just wanted to make a quick video and talk about alchemy, and I'll be getting back into talking about this kind of shit, and I'll probably have a folder for it. So yeah, peace and love. I'll talk to y'all next time. You know what to do. Hit the like button and all that, and the 15-minute free thinking podcast is great too if you haven't seen that. So until then, man, peace out.